So far, my time at SMU has been nothing but special. I came in as a freshman, and while I was injured, I studied. And when I came back from my redshirt freshman season, I balled out. And whether I was returning kicks or I was returning picks, I've given it my all out there on the football field for the last 2 seasons. And I've had the most fun of my life wearing the red, white, and blue. And for SMU, I thank you so much for the memories you've created for me. But after a spectacular freshman season, I had high expectations for us going into my second year, and we kind of fell short of that. While I won all of my individual awards, we fell short of the college football playoffs and were forced to play in a bowl game that I honestly wanted no parts of. I felt like we deserved more than that. Because of that, I put a bunch of bad film on tape in my last game and left a lot of decisions to be made. Should I stay? Should I leave? And after putting my name in the transfer portal, I received big time offers from big time universities, and I had a big time decision to make. And after going on several visits, my decision became quite clear. The school that showed me the most hospitality on my recruiting trip was none other than the University of Tennessee, and I found my new home in Knoxville. And the selling point, Tennessee featured a loaded secondary that was missing the playmaker, and that was me. And while Tennessee hadn't had much success in recent years, there was hope that with me joining the team, we could pose a real threat in the SEC. Look, I wasn't featuring much competition out there in the American Conference, but now I'm with the big dogs. And this year with Nico Iamaleava stepping up at quarterback, Volunteer fans have a lot of new hope. For myself, I'm rated as the number 11 prospect coming into this season, so a lot of eyes and ears will be on me year 3. Crazy enough, my redshirt junior season begins in Texas, back home. We're playing against Kansas State, with the offense giving us a boost early on that made it easy for our defense to lock in. But everybody already knew I was the number 1 rated cornerback in the country. And after grabbing 8 interceptions last season, I doubt a lot of quarterbacks are willing to try me, especially this early on in the season. So what I picked up from last year in the offseason is working on my tackling. I'm quickly becoming one of the best tackling cornerbacks in college football. I mean, that's what happens when you're not getting thrown at and you have to react off instinct. And even when I'm getting thrown at on my coverage, I'm right there to make the tackle. I can't make every interception. I do have to admit one of my main flaws is getting lazy on defense. Look, when you're not getting thrown the ball often, you get a little bored, your eyes start to travel and wander on the field. That's something I need to work on before I get to the lead, locking in on my defender. And that's something I wish my teammates can learn right now, as we're in a 10-9 football game, and after that big catch, Kansas State scores an easy touchdown, take a 5-point lead. And what I assumed was an easy stop for my defender turned into a 2-point conversion. And we needed a big stop badly. With the offense struggling near the end of the third, my guy Drew Nixon made the big time interception to give the offense the ball back in enemy territory, and he read this like a book. But as beautiful as this interception was, our offense didn't even capitalize. Despite the field position, they came away with no points and left our defense in a bad spot. While we tried not to break, we did bend to give up a field goal. And late in the fourth quarter, it was all but curtains. And for my first collegiate game in Tennessee, it was a loss. Back in my home state, and I could do nothing but tackle this game as I wasn't really featured on defense. So in this game against the FCS school, I was hoping to get some easy and cheap stats. Look, everybody knows when the FCS school is on the schedule, it's a chance for you to run up your numbers. And that's what seemed like everybody else was getting a chance to do, except me. When you're the number 1 cornerback, sometimes you're a ghost out there in the football field if you're doing your job correctly. Then I realized not everybody on the field was doing their job correctly. I looked up. We're really in a 7-0 ball game with the FCS Southeast, and they just tied the football game up with the rushing touchdown, and I can't believe it. With 3 minutes left in the football game, we're in a close battle with the FCS school. Finally, our offense had a pulse and scored a touchdown to make this a 14-7 game with about a minute left in the fourth quarter, and it came down to the clutch. And at home in front of a loud crowd, our first win of the season came down to a 4th and 1. Thankfully, we did get the stop, and we ended up winning the first game of our season. And while my team was hyped, I was a little disappointed. I started to feel like my draft stock was slipping up as I was getting no action. So this game against Oklahoma on the road, number 6 team in the country, was big time. Me and my teammates came out making big impact plays to start the game off. And I tried to bait the quarterback into throwing a deep one right here, but my safety had help over the top. And we would end up getting the coverage sack. And despite getting off the field, our offense did nothing, and we were right back on the field where I would get an easy tackle on a screen play, forcing another 4th down. And while I wasn't getting interceptions at all, as long as I was covering my man and making impact plays, that's all I could ask for. Speaking of which, at the end of the first quarter, our safety Jaden Monroe got cooked on his go route, and Oklahoma would strike first. I was a little upset. Then I realized I know my time would come soon. But the Oklahoma quarterback was testing me up a little bit. He was trying to throw underneath routes. Then right here, they ran a slant and threw it right across my body, and I couldn't react in time. And I was pissed at myself. That was my one chance to get a pick, and I failed it. And everything else was a run play. And just as I mentioned, one of my flaws was I got caught daydreaming on this route. The receiver ran it perfectly and the quarterback dotted him up, and I gave up an easy touchdown at the end of the half. And I was disappointed in myself. And while I wanted to throw a pity party at the beginning of the third quarter, our slot corner Jalen Muhammad made a big time interception to get us going, and he put the ball right back in our field position for our offense to score. And while I just gave up a big play, it was nice to know my teammate had my back and made a big time play for us. And hopefully our offense can capitalize off of this field position. And while I'm not exactly sure why our offense is failing to put the ball in the end zone, we did get a field goal to make this a 4-point game. Hey, at the end of the day, we're unranked and we're playing against the number 6 team in the country. And we're only down 4 at the end of the third quarter. And this is where I make a big time play, forcing the fumble out of the running back's hands, and I couldn't believe it. Totally not intentional, but it happened. And our offense decided to finally score a touchdown, and we're up 17-14 in the fourth quarter. While I gave up a catch, I made the stop to make it a 4th and 1. And we need a big time stop right here to force a turnover. And who else other than me and Muhammad, who was already becoming one of my favorite teammates on the squad. Me and him made a gang tackle on a quarterback who thought he was going to sneak in and run a read option. And while offense didn't put up any points on the board, we were up 3 with about 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And we needed just one stop to end this game. And on 4th and 9, we gave up a first down. And on 4th and inches, we did the exact same thing. With Oklahoma in field goal range, our goal was just to not give up a touchdown right here. Thankfully, we didn't, and then went to overtime. And OT, that's where we shine. We forced OU into a 3 and out, and our offense came on the field and actually scored a touchdown. And we got the big time road win in a hostile environment, making us 2-1 on the season. And while I didn't get a pick, I finished with 10 tackles and a forced fumble, easily making this my best game in a Tennessee uniform. But now we got to go against Florida, our rivals. My first Florida-Tennessee game, and it was living up to the hype. The crowd was intense, it was raining, and there wasn't a lot of points being scored. While we haven't had a perfect start to the season, our defense seems to be gelling. Right here, we were forced a 4th down on the goal line after getting 3 consecutive stops. And while I was playing a zone, I was trying to watch for the pass, but little did I know, the quarterback will sneak right up the middle and run right into my zone for a score. And that's like the second touchdown I've given up on the season, 1 passing, 1 running. And after failing to make that tackle on this tight end, I was getting more upset. So right here, I decided to scratch the zone, running for a sack, my first one on the season, and I finally made another impact play. I had a forced fumble in the last game, now I got a sack. Only thing I felt like I was missing was the interception. I mean, I've done just about anything I could do at the cornerback position. Played my coverages, played tight defense, forced the ball out, got deflections. And while I'm wondering to myself when my time will come for an interception, my teammates forced a fumble, giving our offense the ball back in good field position. They would score. Look, at the end of the day, as long as our offense is scoring, our defense is going to do our job, and it will lead to wins. We ended up blowing out Florida at home, and after losing to Kansas State in the opening game, we're on a 3-game win streak. And our offense had their best game of the season. And after forcing a fumble last game, I followed up with a sack and 9 tackles. And heading to a game against LSU, we were riding pretty high. We had a lot of momentum, but we were going to need it. Opening possession in the game, and I set the tone by delivering a big hit on the quarterback who tried to run a read option. And I told y'all, in the summer and last season, all I could do was work on my tackling and my hitting. And as we go through the second quarter, the score is still 0-0, and a big play needs to be made. So I baited up the quarterback into throwing it to my side of the field, and I finally get a chance to get an interception, and I come down with it. And it wasn't even my zone. I was supposed to be playing underneath, but I had a feeling if I baited him far enough, he would take the risk. So I took the ball and we took the lead. And right here on this possession, I'm about to take over the game. I knew he wasn't throwing in my way, so I came up and chased the quarterback down and delivered a big hit in the open field, forcing the ball out. On consecutive possessions, I got an interception and a forced fumble. Now, unfortunately, LSU did recover this football. But look at me getting in the field, getting in the trenches, doing something that safeties and linebackers do. Now, I don't know what he was thinking throwing it to my side right here. That was all on lockdown. But with 30 seconds left, the quarterback throws a dime and LSU takes the lead late at the end of the first half, and I couldn't believe it. After all the hard work, the game is tied at 7. Hey, the LSU receivers won one today. And as our offense kept stalling out, LSU returned a punt for a touchdown, and on the following possession they caught one of my teammates lacking. Hey, I had the underneath zone. I don't know who had the zone over the top, but nonetheless, they blew the game open at 21-7 heading into the fourth quarter. And at this point, they would just run the ball down our throats. With our offense stalling out, we would take a tough loss at the hands of LSU. And despite me having my best performance, it didn't matter. But for me, I got to carry this momentum in the game against Georgia. And while they're not ranked, they still the dogs. And they still got a lot of talent on this football team. And after catching the pick last game, my spidey senses tingled up. I faked up the field and baited the quarterback to throw it underneath, and I caught the interception over the receiver's shoulder. He didn't even have a chance to square up to get the ball because I was already there. Part of me didn't even believe I actually caught it. But even through the rain, the ball never slipped. My vision was clear. And we would have a 10-7 lead at the end of the second quarter when the unspeakable happened. They would dot up our quarterback Drew Nixon on the left side of the field, and they were running for a touchdown to take a halftime lead. Thankfully, our offense came out of halftime and scored a touchdown, giving us a 3-point lead, and we had to hold it down, and we gave it up. We were clearly having the worst game of our season so far in defense, but big time players make big time plays and big time moments. Right here, I baited the quarterback to throw it underneath to the curl route. Through the rain, I slid in like a smooth criminal and got the toe tap interception. I don't really know why I toe tap. Hey, regardless, I got my 3rd interception in 2 games, and just like that, we were going to win the football game on the road in Georgia, going to 4-2. And now I got all the momentum in the world. After going my first 4 games without a pick, I now have 3 picks in 6 games total. So we're in South Carolina going against the undefeated Gamecocks, and right here I baited the quarterback early and I got my 4th pick in 3 games. Tried to go take it to the house. I haven't been able to in a minute, but nonetheless, I'm rolling right now. I had to get on my knees like I always do and be grateful. Because at the beginning of the season, it was a drought. Hey, you know what they say, all it takes is one. And in that LSU game, I got my first pick. Now I feel like I'm seeing the field just as well as anybody in the country, but it didn't stop here. Tie ball game 7-7, you think I got beat, but I didn't. I came back and got the one-handed snag right out of the air with my lefty. Oh no, I'm feeling it now. My teammates know I got the momentum and I got the juice. I couldn't believe I snatched this right out the air with my left hand, and I brought it into my chest like a receiver. One of these days, I'm gonna be able to get some return yardage, but right now, I'll take the 2 interceptions. We're at the end of the 3rd quarter and it seemed like nobody wanted to score the ball, so I decided to intercept the quarterback reading this route perfectly. For the first time in my young Tennessee career, I take an interception back to the crib for a touchdown. Pick 6 me. For my 3rd interception of the day. Look, both offenses decided they didn't want to score this game, so I said bet. Big time players, big time plays, big time moments. With the game 14-10 in the 4th quarter, we needed to stop. That's exactly what we did not do. After South Carolina went up 17-14, we would tie the game at 17-all. I would bait the quarterback to throw it to my side, and I go up for the game-changing pick and drop it. I couldn't believe it. And I just knew I had the 4th interception in the game, and I was going to set my team up for a chance to score, but I didn't. Thankfully, our defense stepped up. Once again, one of my favorite teammates, Jalen Muhammad, would make a big-time stop, forcing overtime. At 17-all, we would get a 3rd down stop, forcing a 4th and inches, and they didn't go for it. They would actually end up missing a field goal, and our offense would score a touchdown, and we would hand the Cox their first loss of the season. And I had play of the game, and I was player of the game. And after my 3 interception performance, that put me at 6 on the year. I would win player of the week nationally, and my draft stock is rising. Now they got me all the way as high as number 5 to the Los Angeles Chargers. But I gotta focus on my season. I can't even worry about where I'm going in the draft. My goal is to be competing in the college football playoffs and hopefully win a national championship. And it starts at games like these. Alabama is in our territory, in our house, and they're not even ranked, surprisingly. But we have the same record just about, so this game is important. And off the rip, we were up 14-0 in the 1st quarter and our offense was rolling, so our defense picked up the pace. But later on, the game would get tight. And y'all know the stat story. When I'm not getting thrown the ball, I get a little lazy mentally and I give up a wide open touchdown as they tie the game. That wouldn't last for long. Our offense had an explosion this game. I couldn't believe it. And we would destroy Alabama's defense. While we didn't have the greatest of games, I got 12 tackles. I just kept it pushing. In an unexpected game I didn't realize we had on the schedule, we're facing number 12 Florida State, who right now has the current last playoff spot. So this is a huge game for us. While we're 6-2 on a 3-game winning streak once again, I promised the Seminoles were not making it any easier on us, and they were rolling themselves. Right here, they would score a touchdown to go up 14-7 in the 3rd quarter. It seemed like everything went downhill after that. We couldn't stop the running game. While he threw a pick on this interception right here, our offense couldn't do diddly squat. With the fate of our playoff lives riding on this game, we'll come out flat in front of our home crowd and get destroyed. Florida State walked right into our building and up their playoff stock with a crazy road win. And while I had my 2nd straight game without an interception, me and my guys like Muhammad and Nixon, we were all over the semifinalist award list for the Bednarik and the Thorpe. And while I was the clear early favorite, it was cool to see my guys on the list. And with a lot of football left to play, we got a lot of time to make an impact. And in this game against Missouri in the snow, I knew the football wasn't about to be flying around. So I decided to get in the trenches and make some stops for tackles for loss. And even when I misplayed my zone right here, shout out to my safety, Darius Hunter IV. He cleaned me up, got an interception, and kept us in this ball game in the 3rd quarter while we were down 7. But our offense, they didn't get the memo that we were trying to win this game. So what do as a defense? We force another turnover and beg our offense to score, and they finally did, making this a 14-17 game in the 4th quarter. And I'm playing my coverage perfectly. So I come up and decide to make a big time hit on a quarterback. And hey, despite the big plays, we were still on the verge of losing this game if our offense didn't convert this 4th and 4. Thankfully, they did in the snow and they would end up tying the game with a field goal. And I was nervous, but we finally got back in this game. We got a chance at overtime. Here, our defense, we knew we had to step up. And on this 3rd down, we played perfect coverage, got a coverage sack, and forced them to a field goal, and our offense completed the mission, scored a touchdown, and we were going to win this game, going to 7-3 on the season. In another game without making a real impact play, and it sparked a question for myself. Am I really going to be a lockdown corner when I get to the NFL? I feel like I've been playing more so like a safety or even a linebacker in the later stages of my college career. I'm not really getting much interception opportunities, and I'm just playing my zones and coming up making read tackles. And that's nice and all, but I'm at my best when I'm baiting the quarterback and throwing it to my side and making plays. And right here, I definitely baited the quarterback, but my guy Darius Hunter IV, my safety, came up and made the play for me because I wasn't ready. Just like that, another game goes by where I didn't make a play. Despite my lack of interceptions, sacks, and forced fumbles, we remain the best team in the SEC by record, and we have one more game to play, and if we won, that would lock us up for the SEC championship game. And despite all odds, if we were to win the SEC, that would for sure guarantee us a playoff spot. And what better team to play with a win on the line than Kentucky, 1-10. And I must say, my guy Darius Hunter IV, my safety, is on a burner. He picked up another interception at the beginning of this game. Kentucky's a very charitable team. They donated another pick to my guy Drew Nixon, and it seemed like all my teammates were getting off at the end of the season, except me. I was stuck ball watching. Right here, I did get off the block and make a great hit. And once again, like I said, I feel like I'm playing more like a safety or even an outside linebacker than I am a real cornerback. But nonetheless, my instincts is football, and I delivered some hits, got some tackles. We closed our season out with a victory over Kentucky, making us at the top of the division, going 7-1 in the conference, and thus putting us in position to compete in the SEC championship game. Before we get into that, it was confirmed that I was a finalist for the Thorpe Award, along with my teammates Jalen Muhammad and Drew Nixon. And as great of a season as we had in the secondary, we had the biggest game of the season coming up in the SEC championship game against Mississippi State. I doubt anybody would have predicted Tennessee and Mississippi State in the SEC championship game at the beginning of the season, but we're here. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, our defense was flying around the field, and our offense was on a burner like I've never seen before. And before you know it, in the third quarter, it was a 38-0 lead, and we were going to rout Mississippi State. But once again, I made no impact plays, and as the season draws to a close, it's leaving me with some doubt. But I had to leave that doubt behind as we were confirmed a playoff team. With the 11th spot, we will face number 6 Miami in the 12-team playoff, and the winner going to face Ohio State in the All-State Sugar Bowl. With this being the biggest game of my career so far, I had to leave all doubt behind. But early on in the game, I got caught slipping in my zone and Miami took advantage. And once again, I had to find myself making plays in the backfield. Speaking of making plays in the backfield, Miami's running back Henry Parrish Jr. was the Heisman winner, and it didn't take long for us to realize why. So with a 7-7 ball game in the second quarter, I baited the quarterback into throwing into my side, and while I looked like I got beat, I recovered and knocked the ball out of the receiver's hands, finally making a decent play. With momentum starting to trend to my side, I baited him into throwing into the flat, and I knocked the ball out again. I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to an impact play. And on cue, I baited the quarterback, and I thought I was way behind the ball, and I reached up and grabbed it like a receiver and got my interception that I haven't had in a few games. And it felt good. I got a pick in the college football playoff game. Big time stage, big time moment. And I set my team up in good field position to hopefully score. And they didn't. And we find ourselves down 10-7 in the fourth quarter. And here I am, making big play after big play on the big stage. And in the fourth quarter, we give up a 3rd and 9. Leading to Miami driving down the field, and just when you thought they were going to score on me, I came up and made a big time tackle on the tight end, forcing a field goal. And while I didn't get there in time for the interception, I saved the touchdown. And our offense just could not capitalize. And making it even worse, they turned the ball over in our side of the field and pinned our defenses back against the wall, leading to a Miami touchdown that quickly. And it was a 19-7 game, and we had to prevent Miami from going for 2 and scoring, and we did just that, making it a 12-point game. Thankfully, our offense finally scored a touchdown, making it 14-19, so our defense had one job. Let's get a stop and get the ball back to our offense. So on 3rd down, Miami hands the ball back to the Heisman winner, and I whiffed on a tackle that would have saved us and gave our offense the ball back. And with no timeouts, Miami would run the ball literally right down our throats and close out this ball game. And just like that, my Tennessee career is over. I would walk off the field a loser, and Miami would advance to go play Ohio State in the college football playoffs. And after a somewhat solid season, it ended in defeat, and my hopes of winning the national championship of college just faded away. And while I was first team All-America again with my guys Muhammad and Hunter, it left me with some questions and debate. Look, there's no doubt I had a great season, 7 interceptions, a lot of tackles, but throughout my career I've had times of laziness and coverage where I'll give up big plays, and NFL scouts were starting to notice that at the end of my college career, so much so that my stock even slipped. And somebody even suggested that I should move to safety to maximize my potential. While I hadn't given much thought during the season, I could use my last year of college eligibility, switch to safety, and go up even higher in the draft potentially next season. Or I could declare for the draft right now as a cornerback, and despite my stock dropping, hope that the NFL trains me right.